Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
Wayne Pratt here. If you enjoy the Gateway, take the next step and support us by going to stlpublicradio.org and making a donation. It takes just a minute and will help keep this daily news podcast possible, as well as all the in-depth news on our website and airwaves. Make a donation now at stlpublicradio.org/donate. From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, March 20th. I'm Wayne Pratt. Missouri's governor is reiterating he will not mandate all businesses close as the state deals with the COVID-19 outbreak. Mike Farzan says issuing such an order is, quote, much easier said than done. Some local leaders, including those in St. Louis City and County, have ordered an end to dine-in service at restaurants and bars. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has issued a similar shutdown in that state. All public schools in Missouri are closed to help stop the spread of the new coronavirus outbreak. Most districts are currently shut down until early April at the latest. St. Charles, Jefferson, and Franklin County officials are limiting gatherings to no more than 10 people. That follows similar moves this week in St. Louis City and County. St. Louis County Assessor Jake Zimmerman is in self-imposed quarantine. That's after 2 teachers at his son's daycare tested positive for COVID-19. Here are the numbers. There are around 40 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Missouri. That includes 5 in St. Louis, 3 of those announced last night. 5 new cases were also announced last night in St. Louis County, bringing the total to 10. There has been 1 confirmed death in Missouri. In Illinois, more than 420 positive test results have come back, including at least 8 in the Metro East. State health officials say there have been 4 deaths. In just a few minutes, we will speak with St. Louis Public Radio's Shahla Farzan about some of the most common COVID-19 related questions listeners are submitting to our Curious Louis series. As we mentioned, the number of COVID-19 cases in Missouri is inching up as the spike in positive test results continues in Illinois. More than 130 additional cases were confirmed in that state yesterday. More from reporter Brian Mackey.
The disease is known to be in 22 counties in all parts of the state, including now Jackson, Kankakee, LaSalle, Washington, and Williamson counties.
Unfortunately, we do anticipate additional deaths.
Dr. Ngaze Ezike is director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. She says those deaths are why it's so important to listen to instructions to stay in your homes. And that goes for everyone, young or old.
This coronavirus is an equal opportunity virus. No respecter of age, zip code, gender. It can infect anyone, and even healthy people.
There are now a total of 422 confirmed cases in Illinois, but because testing for the coronavirus is still limited, there are probably many more than that. I'm Brian Mackey.
All of Missouri's public schools are closed for the next few weeks, and there are increasing concerns about students being able to return at all this spring. Schools in St. Louis City and County are shut down until April 3rd, but St. Louis Public Radio's Ryan Delaney tells us education leaders expect to be closed much longer.
Admins are definitely planning for that. I had one superintendent tell me that he sent his kids home on last Friday, with the expectation of not coming back to school this year. So grab what you need. And I think there's a lot of superintendents who, not necessarily on the record to me, but have told me on background that they don't expect to see kids back.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson has so far left the decision of whether schools should close and for how long up to local officials. With schools shut down, some daycares and childcare centers in the region remain open. University City Children's Care Center Director Laura Milcamp says the center has reduced the number of children and staff in the building. She says there is an effort to make things as normal as possible for children at home.
Like a YouTube channel and some Facebook Live and some Zoom meetings, so those children who are at home have an opportunity to see their teachers, to see that we're still here, that we still love them, and that we will always be here for them, and we're trying to keep everybody healthy and safe right now.
Milcamp also says staying open helps parents who do not have the option of working from home. The virus has hit at least one daycare in the region. Officials at Deutsche Early Child Care Center at Temple, Israel, say 2 staff members and a parent have tested positive. In other news, a new chief has been chosen for the St. Louis County Police Department. As St. Louis Public Radio's Rachel Lippman reports, the Board of Police Commissioners has approved the department's first female chief, Lieutenant Colonel Mary Barton.
Barton, who currently commands the West County Precinct, has been with the department for more than 40 years. She has served in a wide variety of positions, including as a drug enforcement and special investigations detective. Prior to her current post, she commanded the North County Precinct. In a statement, Dr. Lori Punch, a member of the police board, called Barton, quote, an experienced leader with a clear vision of an equitable future for both the department and the community we serve. Barton will take over as chief May 1st. That's the day after John Belmar retires after more than 6 years in that role. I'm Rachel Lippman, St. Louis Public Radio.
With more cases of COVID-19 being confirmed, listeners continue to submit questions about the new coronavirus to our Curious Louis series. We sat down with St. Louis Public Radio's Shahla Farzan to answer some of the most common inquiries.
This is the second installment of our Curious Louis coronavirus series, where we answer your questions about the outbreak and how it's affecting your day-to-day life. Wayne, what's our first question?
We've heard from plenty of listeners who want more information about COVID-19 testing. Who can get tested in Missouri?
So right now, a person can get tested for COVID-19 if they have a cough and a fever over 100.4. And they also need to have either had contact with an infected person or traveled outside the country to an area with high rates of infection, like China or Italy. So those state testing requirements haven't really changed recently.
Another question we've received is, why are so few people in Missouri being tested?
Right. So Randall Williams, the director of the Missouri State Health Department, has said that they now have the ability to test 1,000 people per day. And the state has been trying to ramp up its testing efforts, but so far they've really only tested, less than a few hundred samples total. And really it all ties back to those pretty strict testing guidelines that I mentioned. So I've heard from several people who have symptoms but haven't been able to get tested because they either haven't traveled outside the country or they haven't been in contact with a confirmed infected person. And obviously it's difficult to really estimate how many people are infected or whether the virus is spreading from person to person unless we do more testing. And it does look like, in Missouri at least, the testing requirements are going to be loosened in the future. Williams said that by April 1st, they're hoping to be able to test any Missouri resident with a cough and a fever.
We've also heard from plenty of listeners worried about their jobs, specifically what happens if they can't go to work. Maybe they're taking care of their children because schools are closed or their workplace is shut down. So what kind of options do they have for supporting themselves? Can they apply for unemployment?
Yeah, so the short answer is it depends. In Missouri, a person is eligible for unemployment benefits if they're, quote, unemployed through no fault of his or her own. So if someone has been laid off or is out of work because their employer shut down temporarily, those people generally can apply for unemployment.
What if a person gets sick?
Well, there are some restrictions. So you have to be able to work and be actively looking for a job. So if you're sick, you're not eligible for unemployment in Missouri. If you don't have symptoms and you're in self-quarantine, you might be able to get unemployment benefits in some cases. So for instance, if you were required to stay home, but your employer didn't offer you the opportunity to telework. And these applications are evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So the Missouri Department of Labor has a lot more information on this on their website, which you can find at labor.mo.gov/coronavirus.
That's my conversation with St. Louis Public Radio's Shahla Farzan, answering some of the most common questions about coronavirus submitted to our Curious Louis series. Our Maria Altman edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt. From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.